Hello guys! In this episode I wanted to present to you the article I just did on Medium. I posted online yesterday and I already got a couple of responses about it. It's basically coming as a mathematician to the whole problem of coronavirus outbreak and trying to understand it with mm, basically what's needed right now. And I wanted to understand in numbers what can be done, what should we be doing when it comes to coronavirus. And the main takeaways from this text are as follows. So around 5% of infected need to be hospitalized, around 2% of infected need ventilators, so that's 40% of all the hospitalized. And I then computed how many ventilators are there, how many ICU beds are there in the hospitals, so intensive care units are there in the hospitals around the world. And based on that, I was able to basically evaluate that the current capacity of hospital is around 6% of population being infected, which means that if you have 6% of the population, then that's basically 5% of this 6% is already putting you at the max capacity of hospitals. But actually, after I posted the story, there were a couple of people also contacting me that saying that some of the hospitals are already at the max capacity because of the non-COVID 19 patients which are already there and using the beds. So 6% is really something rather like an upper bound, and moreover, it's not always the case that it's 6% because in some regions, it's, for example, in the UK, sometimes it's 2 or 3% already from the start. So if you take away from that there are non-COVID patients, then this number is even going down. So why is that important? I wanted to understand that because there are really scary statistics when it comes to patients, because basically mortality rate is going through the roof when you past this max capacity of hospitals, when hospitals can't really help people. So in regions where there's which are well prepared, which have everything in place, meaning all the tests are being done, people are being quarantined, there's self-distancing, self-isolation, people are not going out, then actually the fatality rate is pretty low. It's below 1%, so that's South Korea, rest of China. But actually, if you go into regions which are over the max capacity, then it's going pretty high. And right now, as of yesterday, so basically the data, I took the data from yesterday from Italy, and the fatality rate there is 9%. So 9% death ratio, that's really, really a lot. And it's basically because there are not enough ventilators, there's not enough ICU beds, there are not enough medical staff to do and help people who are in need. Just for briefing. So that's why it's extremely important to fight the number of coronavirus cases and keep them below capacity of hospitals. So and at the same time, the thing we can all do, or at least some of us can probably do, is we should be building more ventilators, ICU beds. We should recruit more medical staff if that's possible, in order to raise this capacity. So this is what China did basically when they built, I guess, 1,000 bed hospital just in 10 days to raise the capacity of the region. That's the best way we can do. So the way I computed it was basically firstly looking at the statistics with how many people are in critical condition, how many people then need ventilators. This data is already organized. There are a bunch of statistics from different websites. So I checked different sources for that. This 5% is popping in different places, and then I checked how many of those people need ventilators, and then I started computing how many beds are there in different regions. So I looked at United States, UK, then general EU standards, because you have EU Commission which says how many beds there should be in general in hospitals, and that between 4 to 10% of beds. And basically there was couple of reports saying how many beds there are. There are about 529 beds per 100,000 people. So lowest being UK, highest being Germany, but on average that we should expect 55 beds per 100 people. So ICU, if we take this measure of 10%. So again, what I'm computing is upper bound here. So again, if you take that, then that gives you basically the 10% of the population is the upper bound for the capacity of the hospitals. And then if you take into the ventilators that I'm computing, which are much less. So basically, again, Germany is the best equipped with around 25,000 ventilators and 28,000 intensive care beds. Um, so that gives them around 6% of the max capacity of the hospital, of the population can be infected, 6%. But there are statistics which are much worse, especially some regions in the US, UK. It's not really great at that either. Uh, Poland is pretty good. I checked also Poland. We have 10,000 ventilators, and that also would give us around 6%. But again, there are non-COVID patients which are lying. So this is what I try to compute in this article, and this is kind of scary because like what's really important right now is for all the people who can't really help, and by helping I mean either producing more ventilators, preparing more ICU beds, or being on the medical staff and helping actually people in the hospitals, then actually the best thing you can do is stay home and just not spread the virus, spread the knowledge instead. Uh, so that's the most important thing, and I started computing that in order to think through the whole issue with a couple of friends whether we can get into this fight and probably help with some of those, because there are already some smart engineering going on with like 3D printing ventilators, or like the questions in general, how can you use the engineering knowledge in order to do some of those stuff much quicker than it is done right now. So I guess that's the best way to uh, fight the coronavirus. And for all the other people who can't really help in doing that, then staying at home is the best way. So stay healthy, stay at home, and see you in the next episode.